Awesome. Thank you. All right, I'm going to, there she is. Hello. Good morning. Hi,
Good
Marysol.
morning. Hi.
Thanks for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Sorry, it's hot over here. I'm in
We're-
LA. So anything over 70 degrees is hot.
I'm at my store right now, which is inside of a mall. So thank goodness for AC.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Yes. So this is the first in a planned series of lives. So before I introduce you, I wanted to quickly go over why we're doing this. Uh,
Yes.
so some of our followers that have been with us for a while now know that quite a months ago, we teased that we are developing our very first children's book. My husband and I, we're the creators of Mija Books, which is a multicultural children's bookstore. But we have plans to build sort of an empire of children's books all around representation. Our daughter is half Black, half Mexican American, and we want to celebrate that. We want to create more content that showcases children of color. And so that's really at the mission, at the heart of what we do, right, is representation 24/7. So we are launching a Kickstarter campaign to raise funds to publish our very first children's book. Right behind me, you'll see our two characters, Reina and Rashad. They're going to be two siblings that have Afro-Latino ancestors. We'll get into details when I talk more about the project, but one of the reason why Marysol is here with me today is because she is the co-founder of a fantastic nonprofit called Equity Through Literacy. And I'm so excited to say that they are one of our beneficiaries for our campaign. So if people want to donate a copy of our book, Marysol's organization will be one of the beneficiaries to receive those books. So I invited her today to introduce herself, to talk about her nonprofit, and more generally, our topic for today is empowering marginalized communities through literacy. So without further ado, I'll introduce Marysol, a quick background about her. She has a master's in bilingual education from Loyola Marymount University. That's my husband's alma mater as well.
Oh, go Lions.
Preliminary services credential and a master's in educational leadership from Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. So Marysol, thank you so much for joining me. Go ahead and you can elaborate further on your background and jump right into what is Equity Through Literacy.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm just so excited and so honored to be here, representing my organization, but also representing our communities, right? And I'll talk a little bit about how Reina and Rashad connects with me directly and how important having children's lit that's representative of all diverse children and backgrounds is so important. But yes, as Stephanie mentioned, I'm an educator. I've been in education for over a decade now. I'm currently a language arts specialist at a local school district here in Lawndale, servicing TK through fifth grade, and my school site specifically diverse in the sense that we offer multiple programs. So we're launching our dual immersion program. And we also have our autism program. So diversity and inclusion is huge for me as an educator, also as a parent. I have two little ones who are 10 and 4. So what got us started, the idea of equity through literacy, along with my partner, Antoinette, we're both educators. We met at a school over a decade ago, teaching in communities that we would consider book deserts. Like, they didn't have access to culturally relevant texts. The texts that were there were, tattered or very, you might have one good copy and the rest are all not that great. And it really just didn't represent the students that we were serving. And we were in the Pico Union area, so predominantly migrant families, predominantly families from Central America and Mexico, and a couple of families that were also Black. So the books that we had didn't represent who they were. So we, out of our own pockets, would go out and search for books. And then when we would go do the searching there wasn't very much out there. So it was very difficult to provide, you know, opportunities for students to see themselves in the text that they're reading in classroom, to have access to text at home, because we know how important it is to build those home libraries. And so fast forward, we went to different schools, and Antoinette's now working for the city of Long Beach in the library system. So we're still very much involved in literacy, but we're like, what can we do? And so prior to the pandemic, I launched a bilingual book club for parents at my school site, and it was a hit. We chose one book, and we had parents that were monolingual English, monolingual Spanish, bilingual. We got them all together to read the same text and engage in strategies and tools that the students were using in the classroom. And what we found was that by empowering parents, teaching them those skills and giving them opportunities to have these conversations about and making personal connections to the text, they then went home and the children got excited seeing their parents read along with them, or just having that time where literacy was at the core of what they were doing at home. And so we said, let's do something like that. But boom, pandemic hit, and we had to quickly pivot to providing tangible access to resources, primarily books and school supplies. And so we would do drive-through events. Then once it started opening up, we developed it more into like wellness days. So we tapped into partnerships that provided essential items like food, diapers, baby formula, and we anchored it all in literacy. Everything that we do is around building and empowering families to get access to become advocates for their families and become advocates and teachers in their own homes. And so that's really what we represent at Equity Through Lit. And we're just so excited to continue that work. And how that ties in with Mija Books is our Barnes and Nobles, you know, our big, you know, bookstores, they don't offer very much of a selection of children's lit, and then an even smaller selection of children's lit that targets and represents the communities that we are here to serve, predominantly our Black and Latinx communities. It's very minimal. You have like a handful, you have like maybe 1 or 2 Spanish books. So having an opportunity to see Mija Books grow and develop into what they've become. I followed you guys at pop-ups too. So I've like been watching all the movement that you guys have been doing. And it's so great to go from something that was online and like a pop-up type of work to now having a storefront, a brick and mortar, where kids can go in, families can go in, and they see themselves all around them. We just had an event in East LA at the YMCA where we were distributing books, and a little girl saw Grace Byers' I Am Enough, and she goes, "Look, mommy, her hair is just like mine." And that is our why. You want to have that, empower our students and children to see themselves in the books that they read, see themselves as superheroes, see themselves as kings and queens, right? So I'm just so excited to hear about Reina and Rashad and all of that that you are all doing. So thank you so much. So much, and I'm so excited, and so I have to bring it down.
Love the excitement. Thank you. Yeah, it's been quite a work in progress for us, but we're so excited to partner with organizations like yours. You said a few things that really stuck with me in the beginning. When it comes to nonprofits, we have an experience with another local nonprofit we did at a Foster event. So it was a really wonderful event where they gave not only new books, but also new clothing, hygiene products, shoes. And some of this stuff was like name brand shoes, you know, like Nike brand new shoes. And the thing with those types of events, I think what's most important is that all of the items are brand new, right? They're packaged, they're still in the plastic, brand new items. And I think people don't focus on that enough, right? To where underserved, marginalized communities, how important it is for them to have new items, right? You mentioned a lot of what you experienced. You saw like tattered old books, right? In classrooms or in the homes. Like, how would that make you feel if like all you owned was secondhand things, right? And so that's why I feel like it's so important for organizations, like donations are great. You know, people oftentimes want to get rid of a lot of books and their old bookshelves and whatnot, which is fantastic. There's a place for that. But I think there's also a place for underserved kids to feel special by holding brand new things. And what better to have brand new than a book, right? It's theirs, they can own it. So that's, for people that support the Kickstarter, when you choose that donation option, they're going to be the first print, fresh off the press books that we'll be donating to organizations like Marysol. So that was one thing I want to just highlight again, the importance, why it's so important to have brand new books. The other thing you talked about were book deserts. And that really hit close to me because recently we were featured in the LA Times Festival of Books insert. They created a really amazing map of Southern California, and we were part of the 65 best bookstores in Los Angeles. And they mapped, on the SoCal map, all of the 65 bookstores. And I don't know if anybody noticed who read that insert, but a lot of the bookstores were mapped like along the coast.
Yes.
Across Hollywood, Santa Monica, right? And very few were in South LA, East LA, right? And they put the text of the story there, the essential bookstores was right in the middle of the Southern California map. But they did that because there was literally open spaces. There were no bookstores in that area, right? Mm-hmm. And then you had Mija Books that was just above, right? Long Beach. We were the only one that was in that area. And that really struck me because, as you mentioned, it's a book desert. And that's part of why, we wanted to open in this community, is because we know that there is a heavy, Latino, Black, Asian population. And they just aren't being served in the way that they should be. So that's another thing that really struck me, is when you mentioned the book deserts, is getting a, this is where the books really should be going, the most. The other thing you mentioned, you were a language arts specialist. Did I hear that right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Can you on what language arts is?
Sure. So language arts is the area of building academic language and proficiency in reading, writing, speaking, and listening for all students. So we do focus on, our at our school, we're focusing on the English language arts, and now that we're introducing dual immersion, Spanish language arts. So teaching them to become proficient, not just in speaking, right? We have two different, we have our academic language, and then we also have, our social language skills, but also developing context as to when, where, and how, who you're talking to, correct? And for parents, that's super important because we want to make sure that they feel empowered to use. They might not know how to read. A lot of our families come in and they're like, well, I can't teach them how to read. I can't share that with them because I can't even read a book with them. And I'm like, but you can tell a story. And that's the oral language development. And that's such a huge component for literacy. That's one of the building blocks, right? So really teaching our parents and families and our students, you start with what you're saying. You tell a story with your words, and your experiences. So what I do primarily focuses around building the academic components, but I always try my best to really just immerse them also in the parent engagement component of you are a teacher in your own home and you have the tools at home. You share a recipe. That's literacy, right? And math and science, you share a story about when you were, a child from, your homeland. That's history. That's literacy as well. So I work with teachers in building and supporting with curriculum and instruction, but I'm also in the classrooms just watching our students and seeing how we can best support and supporting our families.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. I noticed on your website you have some free resources available for families. And I really loved how you included, it's not just the typical reading resources, but there's media resources and how to dive deeper into media, how to use art to also teach literacy, right? There's one document I found on your website that I really loved. It's so simple and it's, I think, really so impactful. It was a list of 50 questions to ask your kids instead of how was your day?
Yes.
And I've thought of that, you know, since with my nieces and nephews, I always think about that and how generic that question is. How was your day? There's a few different levels that I saw in that list that I thought was really important. One of the things that struck me was asking them instead, what made you smile today, or what made you laugh? Right. So you're connecting more to their emotions, which for some people it's easier to talk about, right, than really specifics or intricacies about your day. And another question that struck me is, what are you looking forward to tomorrow? So you're bringing in the context of not only being in the present, but looking into the future, right? What does that mean to think about tomorrow, right? Anticipation and what you're looking forward to. And then another thing is, conversely, you don't always have to talk about the positive. There's a question that says, what's something that challenged you today, right? So I thought it was just a brilliant list. And for anybody that's with us right now, I encourage you to go to their website and download that list for yourself. Share it with everybody you know. Even you can share it with teachers as well. I think for teachers, what a great way to like end a classroom, right? Is to bring up some of those questions to the children. So can you talk a bit about why that was important to include that on your website?
Yeah, we started the free resources as a way to give parents an in and have them be able to engage with their children at home and even outside of the home. You know, we have some scavenger hunt ideas, nature walks, even just in your own city, just walking around your neighborhood. And but that one in particular, I used to use it in my classroom when I was a teacher as our closing circle. So we would have our morning meeting and then we would, have our closing circle, and I just cut them up in strips and put them in a jar. And the kiddos would just pass the jar around and choose one and talk about it. I had 30 plus students, so we wouldn't get to all of them, but I would encourage them to then take their strip home and then, write about it or share it with their family member. So it went beyond the classroom, and it also allows them, like you said, to tap into what they were feeling, what they're experiencing. A lot of what we do focuses around social emotional well-being, and really allowing children to acknowledge themselves and what they're feeling and what they're going through, and giving them that space. And it's a great way for families to do it just at the dinner table. It gives you something to talk about, right? We do it here at home too. And, we go around in a circle, and instead of like, how was your day? How was your day? Sometimes you can't think of those questions like right at the spot, but you just, maybe if you have it there, you pull it out, you pull your little jar out and, pick a strip and have those conversations. It builds community in your own home as well.
I'll pin your website in the comments. Can you, okay. Is it through lit or literature?
Lit. So equitythroughlit.org.
Equity.
I can put it in if that helps.
Cool. Ask for it here. Lit.org. And then
there, yeah.
It's also linked in your bio, right?
It is, yes. And so we do have a section with free resources. We try to translate as much as we can in English and Spanish. That's currently our only capacity right now. We'd love to expand it to other languages as well. So if anyone's out there that speaks another language and wants to translate documents for us, that'd be great.
Great thing about it, right, is that it's so diverse. I mean, we've gotten people that come into our store, and we've actually gotten a lot of requests for Filipino,
yes.
Korean, so it's one of the I think the really amazing things about LA County in particular, but SoCal, is just how beautifully diverse this area is. So great that you're to add more languages to the website.
Yeah. And we do, when we do our events, that's something that that you brought up, because of the diversity of LA County and because we serve various different cities. When we put on events, our wellness events, or we even partner up with organizations, they invite us to their events. We make sure we do research. Who's out there? Who are we serving? What are the communities looking like? So that we make sure that the books that we're bringing out, there's some of our classics, you know, Piggy and Elephant and all of those fun ones, but also, you know, books that have stories that will remind them of something from home, will remind them of their own personal experiences, or like we said about the little one, my hair looks just like hers, right? That's so important. I think a lot about my sisters. They are also Mexican and Black, and they're older. They're 20 and 24 now. But when they were growing up, they didn't have books. I can't think of a book that was exactly like Reina and Rashad, you know, coming from two diverse backgrounds and sharing those stories. So that's why I'm so particularly excited about that. It's just being able to share more of who our kiddos look like, what's representing them in the books that they read.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that don't know, with Reina and Rashad, part of what we're doing and with creating those characters is we're filling a void that we've seen in the children's space with not just having Afro-Latinx representation, but having a book that's not about necessarily being Afro-Latino, right? It's not about skin color. It's not about hair. It happens to be two Afro-Latino siblings that are simply having fun. They're going on an adventure, right? It's a story that all kids can enjoy. You know, my husband and I always say, like, why can't Black and brown kids have a Harry Potter too?
Yeah.
I mean, like, how much money has Harry Potter made and still keeps making that has been translated into probably over 100 languages now, right? Kids from all over the world love Harry Potter. I can't think of anything with Black and brown characters that's as popular as something like a Harry Potter, right? Mm-hmm. Can't say that a Harry Potter was created just for white kids, because we know that everybody enjoyed that story. So that's really what we want to push with Reina and Rashad too, right? Is to see for Black and brown kids to see themselves reflected in the characters, but have it be a story that isn't necessarily like discouraging for particular groups of people, because we've literally seen that happen in our store, where we have, you know, either white customers or customers that don't feel like they can connect with the particular book be completely turned off by it, which that's a whole other conversation in and of itself. Yeah. Those books belong on every bookshelf, right? It's a window into a different culture, a different style of living or whatnot. But at the heart of it, again, it's just going to be a fun story. And we've noticed with our daughter, who she just recently turned 3, she enjoys those types of books that have, you know, spectacular images and characters doing fun, cool things, and, you know, with and action poses and things like that. So that's really what we're trying to create. You know, we have bigger visions for it, but this is all. We have to start somewhere, so we're starting with our first book, and hopefully for those, we haven't officially announced it yet, we're waiting for the official link, but we're hoping August 22nd to be the official launch date for the pre-orders. So we're ramping up towards that. But Marysol, I don't want to keep you too long. Let people know what exact communities do you service with Equity Through Lit?
So we've been all across LA County, as far south as, you know, Long Beach, and then as far north as, I would say, like the Hollywood, Griffith Park area and everything in between. So we, you know, we've been into South Central. Here's some cities in the South Bay, Hawthorne, Lawndale, Whittier. So really just serving communities, like you said, all that space that we saw. We try to target that area where we consider book deserts, making sure that we're providing access to high quality texts, engaging texts, and along with other resources when we do partnerships with other organizations. Like you said, there's nothing like being able to get brand new items, whether it's shoes or clothes or books, school supplies, is something that we've also done. So that's really the areas that we support are really, we try to target where they won't have much access to these types of books.
Well, yeah. Somebody asked, where exactly is that 50 questions list on the website? I think there was a tab that said, did it say free resources or resources?
Yeah, it said resources. So if you go right on the top of the website, there should be a tab, and you click on resources. I could always put it in our bio and just put like a direct link to it as soon as we're off here.
Sure. Yeah. So I think I tab that said resources, and then there's a bunch of stuff. So make sure to look through all of it. But
yeah.
It was titled 50 questions to ask your kids instead of how was your day. That's the list that we were talking about earlier. So thank you so much, Marysol. And once again, for those that might have just joined us, Marysol Perez is co-founder of the 501c3 nonprofit, Equity Through Literacy. And they are one of our beneficiaries for our upcoming Kickstarter campaign. And for those that don't know what Kickstarter is, I'll be doing another IG to a bit more Kickstarter and how and why it's important to do all of this. So once again, thank you so much. And any final words, Marysol?
I want to thank you so much for reaching out to us. We're really excited to see all that's going to develop. You've done such amazing and powerful work here in our community. So thank you again. And for anyone that's interested in supporting our organization or learning more about us, you can follow us on Instagram. We're trying to post as much as possible. And you could also check out our website. Our Instagram handle is at Equity Through Lit, and our website is www.equitythroughlit.org. We're happy to connect with you and answer any questions and find ways to support our communities and empower our families through literacy together.
Well, thank you.
Of course.
Commented there, out to them on Messenger if you have any questions, if you're trying to find those resources we talked about. But yeah, it's a fantastic website that you put together. It's really, really useful. Yeah. And thank you again. We'll definitely be in touch, and hopefully we'll be sharing the huge success of the campaign once it's done in September.
Yes, thank you so much. We're looking forward to it, and anything we could do to support, we're here to help you all. So thank you, and thank you for everyone who joined us. We appreciate you.
Thank you all. Hopefully, if it saves properly, it'll be saved on our profile. So you can share, or if you missed the beginning, you'll be able to go and rewatch. But that's all for today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.